Now on Denver 7 News at 7 a.m. on Local 3, a Colorado congressman wants to prevent another King Soopers-style mass shooting.
Also, Ukrainian troops claim Russians are using chemical weapons now. Details on how the U.S. is responding.
And the Nuggets are preparing to start their playoff run. We're hearing from the players ahead of Saturday's big game.
A game you can watch over on Denver 7 Saturday. It should be exciting. Thanks for joining us this morning. I'm Brian Sanders.
And I'm Nicole Brady. We do have some changes in the weather coming, wet weather pushing into the metro. Lisa Hidalgo is here timing it out for you. Looks nice in Vail, nice and cold and wet.
Yeah, you're right. Already wet there. Take a look from this shot there as you look down and through Vail, right at and as you get west of the divide, some heavy snow showers falling right now. We've got a couple of really good bands of snow you can see here in darker blue. We're going to pick up over a foot of snow above about 10,000 feet. Again, west of the divide. Here in town, it's dry right now. We will see more snow, it looks like, up and through the northern Front Range Mountains here this morning, and a few rain showers across the plains this afternoon. Winds have picked up again. We're at now gusts upwards of 20 to about 40 miles per hour. It's pretty warm, though, because of it. With that southwesterly wind, right now we're in the 40s and 50s, and that's going to be it for highs today. We'll be in the mid-50s through early afternoon, and then things will cool down. It's going to get quite a bit colder tomorrow, and we have a chance for some snow here in town. I'll show you the timing of that coming up.
The snow chance in the mountains is 100% as we're looking at snow now. This is right before you would get to the Eisenhower Johnson tunnels along I-70, right by the Loveland ski area. Heavy snow on I-70. It's like this also in Vail and I-70. We have chain and traction laws on parts of the high country right now because of the winter driving conditions we're dealing with up there right now. Take a look at the drive that we have across the south side. So this is the Alameda Bridge right here. This is the southbound side of I-25. And this would be the bridge coming from northbound Santa Fe to go northbound I-25. It is very typical, not seeing any big delays for us right now along that Santa Fe corridor. And you can see on the drive times, I-70, 270, that north side of town, getting busier, but really no major problems for us on the freeways, which is good news. Busy on 225, busy at least a little bit there on parts of I-70 and 6th Avenue.
New overnight, an Adams County deputy and another driver are both recovering after this bad crash. It happened just before midnight. The deputy tried to stop the other car, which was going the wrong way on eastbound I-70 near Strasburg, but the two ended up crashing. The interstate was blocked for a while, but has since reopened. We're told that both will recover from their injuries.
Well, today, Congressman Joe Neguse will announce 4 measures to help recover from mass shootings and, more importantly, prevent them.
And it comes just weeks after we marked 1 year since the Boulder King Soopers shooting. Denver 7's Veronica Acosta is here, and Veronica, Neguse called for more gun control last year right after the shooting. Now he's taking a different approach.
He did, a very different one. This time around, Congressman Neguse isn't focusing so much on guns with these bills, instead helping those impacted when there's something like a mass shooting. 4 bills aim to do 3 things. The Safe Workers Act would expand worker safety. It would direct the National Institute of Occupational Safety and Health to run a study on threats of violence in the workplace. That study would then be used to create best practices to protect employees. The second bill, the Stop Violence Act, would provide federal money to put in place these security measures at places of concern. The Help for Healing Communities Act would help with recovery after a traumatic event. And then finally, the Prioritizing Resources for Victims of Firearm Violence Act would prioritize assistance to victims of gun violence as well as their families. Congressman Neguse told our partners over at the Denver Post the purpose of 2 of these bills is to strengthen security measures and training protocols to help reduce the threat of gun violence at places like schools, grocery stores, theaters, and other spots where community members tend to gather. He said, quote, "These bills are common sense security measures that we could take today that ultimately could very well save lives." Now, this package already has some support behind it that's coming from several unions, gun prevention nonprofits, and mental health awareness councils as well. In studio, I'm Veronica Acosta, Denver 7.
Thank you, Veronica. Just yesterday, of course, President Biden announced new federal regulations to cut down on ghost guns. These are weapons that are virtually untraceable because they are privately assembled. The rules require purchasers to pass a background check. Also, manufacturers must put serial numbers on firearm components, and firearm dealers must add serial numbers to any already built ghost guns that they come across. Denver police now say 2 teenagers were killed in a shooting that turned into a deadly crash. It happened Friday night on Peoria, south of I-70. Investigators say 13-year-old Jaden and 14-year-old Adrian Foster were driver and passenger in a car that ended up on the opposite side of the road after they were shot at by another driver. Their car collided with a pickup truck. The driver of that truck was also killed. We spoke to one of Adrian's relatives who asked not to be identified. They said he had dreams of becoming a basketball or football player and was touring schools in hopes of starting college early.
They have taken a part of our family, a very important piece of our family. It's not here anymore. It's just like a part of your heart is gone.
Denver police are still looking for the suspect and witnesses.
Commerce City police say they have a man in custody facing sexual assault allegations dating back years. Denver 7's Christian Lopez joins us this morning because, Christian, it sounds like police have wanted this person off the streets for a while now.
And police think that this suspect may have committed several sex crimes in other states, and they're asking any victims to come forward. And this is the suspect. His name is Demetrius Wooden. He was arrested in Missouri in March and extradited to Colorado a week ago. And now he's behind bars in Adams County. And he's accused of sexual assault for an incident that happened in Commerce City in September. And during that investigation, they also connected him to a separate victim in Denver back in June. And detectives believe that Wooden may have committed other sex crimes in Florida, Georgia, Texas, Missouri, Minnesota, as well as other Midwestern states as well, all over the past 10 years. So Denver police are asking anyone who may have information about Wooden when it comes to these crimes or other crimes to contact them. Live in Denver this morning, I'm Christian Lopez, Denver 7.
Thank you, Christian. To the latest in Ukraine now, the Pentagon is monitoring reports of Russian troops using chemical weapons. A paramilitary group in Ukraine's National Guard accused Russian forces of using a drone to drop a poisonous substance in the city of Mariupol. That's one of the cities that's been hit hardest by Russian forces. As many as 20,000 people may have been killed in the fighting there. Many of the holdouts are hunkered down in a steel factory. A new report from the United Nations finds nearly 5 million Ukrainian children have been displaced by the war. That's about 2/3 of the total number of children in Ukraine. The UN says 3 million of the displaced children are living in other parts of the country, while the other 2 million are now in other countries. For the first time since she was fired last week, we're hearing from former Aurora Police Chief Vanessa Wilson.
Denver 7 investigative reporter Jennifer Kowaleski has been following this story for weeks now. Wilson has called her firing politically motivated.
I wasn't going to accept her resignation and just walk away.
Aurora's now former police chief isn't going quietly.
There should not be partisan politics in public safety.
Less than a week since the city manager fired Vanessa Wilson, the former chief stood alongside more than a dozen community leaders and council members calling her firing an injustice.
The bottom line is that the chief showed up.
Chief Wilson was the pathway for equity.
City manager Jim Twomley said it came down to a lack of leadership, a claim Wilson pushed back on.
Sir, you're very wrong. And I have to stand up for myself.
Wilson also talked about the massive records backlog Denver 7 investigates first exposed, an independent report which found more than 2,500 crimes stuck in a queue, delaying investigations.
What did you know about the records backlog? What did you try to do about the records backlog?
Obviously, it's something no one wants, no chief wants to have happen or have to be dealing with, but we have been dealing with this for years. This is not a revelation. This was for lack of a better term, a convenient moment for them to disparage me. And that is the bottom line.
The city manager has stressed Wilson didn't lose her job because of the backlog, and he wasn't influenced by city council. But Wilson and community leaders called the move nothing more than politics.
What I did was not popular. I understand that. Leadership is not a popularity contest.
We work and live in a fractured city.
She held officers who engaged in misconduct accountable.
Jennifer Kowaleski, Denver 7.
Wilson did not announce a lawsuit against the city, but said she is exploring all options. APD is currently being led by Division Chief Christopher Jewell. City leaders plan to name an interim chief in the coming weeks, and they hope to hire a permanent chief in the next 6 months. The mask mandate for public transportation may not end as scheduled next week. The CDC is expected to give an update sometime this week. The mandate is set to expire on Monday.
DIA was one of the busiest airports in the world last year. It is third on this list behind Atlanta and Dallas-Fort Worth. This is the highest DIA has ever ranked on the list. It was 8th in 2020 and didn't even crack the top 10 in 2019 pre-pandemic.
Well, if you love crafts, this could hurt. Thousands of Etsy sellers are on strike while they're protesting a new payment structure and how the company is responding.
Also, DU wants you to help them celebrate their national championship hockey team, where the players and fans will come together tonight.